Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of season 31 of TGP2. Tonight we will be taking you around two fantastic circuits, two modern classics on today's calendar. We firstly will be heading to the fantastic Yas Marina circuit with some of the best facilities you will ever find at a motor racing venue, followed by the Sakir International Circuit in Bahrain, which is, Chris Johnson passes stricken Alfa Romeo. Bahrain, also another modern classic, and I think the Haas in front of Chris Johnson there, not really doing him a great deal of help. But anyway, joining me tonight will be two-time TGP1 champion Jean-Luc Taylor, aka Johners. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Roy. It's good to be back in the commentary box again. Looking forward to tonight's races. Looking very interesting so far with qualifying for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We've got Passer on pole at the moment, just 8 thousandths clear of Blair Grylls, although that is now second and third because Daniel P. Wilnut, second of the championship, takes pole by a tenth of a second, a 1:36.305. Chris Johnson may have been held up the last corner by that Haas, but he is on the second row, which is higher than usual for the Aston Martin driver. He tends to struggle with his one-lap pace. We've got Dom Smith, third in the championship, currently beginning a lap. Our championship leader, Jacko Lowe, has had an unfortunate session. He's down in 18th. He's out of the session. He's had a crash, I believe, early on. So he will be at best 18th place. So a lot of work to do for the championship leader in the Ferrari.
Yeah, championship leader Jacko leading the championship on 90 points, just 2 points clear of Daniel P. Wheelnut, our current provisional pole sitter, in second place. It is Dom Smith, the runner-up of season 29 on countback, of course, lost it at this very circuit when Theo Hickman won the race and indeed the championship with it. But yeah, he is 7 points behind Jacko, so 7 points off the championship lead, with Cena 25 points behind. He's on 65 points, P4 in the championship. P19 in the session. I think he's in the pits. Does he have a qualifying ban? Can't quite recall, as Dom Smith is looking pretty handy so far. Looked to be nearly half a second up after the first two sectors. Now, the final sector is really where you can gain and lose and invalidate your lap as well. So let's see how the Alpine driver negotiates the final two corners. Very easy to invalidate this penultimate corner, but he keeps well within the lines here. This will probably be his final attempt here. So Dom Smith in the Alpine crosses the line, and it's P4. He's 2/10, exactly 2/10 off the provisional pole time of fellow Manxman Daniel P. Wheelnut. So it's unlikely that Dom will be the top Manxman in this session, but we'll see how the next minute or so progresses. We have Blair Grylls on another lap as well.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on is Passer, P2 at the moment, but he is purple in sector 2, and he is just over a tenth up on his best, which obviously is also the difference between the gap between himself and the pole sitter at the moment. He needs the Williams of Neljat just to get out the way, though. I believe Neljat might be on a lap of his own. He does seem a bit down on his pace, so hopefully that Williams does just move aside. It doesn't look like he's going to, though, so that might just compromise the AlphaTauri. That really isn't helping. That's very close between the two. Passer's trying to keep it pinned to the line. He's made a mistake at the last corner, and that's probably just cost him pole because he's half a tenth off his best there. I think the AlphaTauri driver will be rightfully aggrieved with what's just happened there. Blair Grylls still going in the last sector now. He's a tenth down on his best, so he really needs to find a time in this last sector. As you said, a lot of time can be found in this last sector, but very easy to invalidate like that. He's taken a bit too much curve under the hotel. That's an invalidation. That's the end of his session. He will be P3. Dom looks like he's still going. I don't know if he's going to be close to
half a tenth behind his previous time then, and he's still going forward, so he must have some time on the table here. He might be about to find a bit of time here. Dom Smith crosses the lines, P2 on his second lap. His tyres will be a little bit more worn, but he's got the lap in when he needed to. Joe Sayer also on a lap.
Yeah, that's an important lap for Dom. He's right with one of the early title contenders as well, the front of the grid. Not the top Manxman though. That will be Daniel P. Wilnut, the pole man. And he will be the pole man unless Joe does something special, or Mick Schumacher in 12th. They're the last two yet to set yet to cross the line. Joe is improving.
He could
I
go
don't think he's
fifth
going to.
here if he finds, if that margin I saw was accurate. So Joe Sayer crosses the line, and it is indeed P5 for Joe. I think he'll be pretty pleased with that one. Out qualifies his teammate Chris Johnson, so it's Aston Martin P5 and P6, so they'll be on the third row of the grid. Quickly then, your grid order for the opening round tonight at Yas Marina. We have Daniel P. Wheelnut taking pole position, another step towards his, well, I suppose his championship run. He's well and truly in. He's only 2 points off Jacko, of course, so he'll be hoping to make amends for the disappointment of last season. Dom Smith completes the front row. It's an all-Manx front row with Parsa in P3. Blair Grills was 4th, with Sayer Sports taking a very impressive top 5. Chris Johnson is 6th, with John Menzies in P7. Nell Jack is 8th, followed by Angel vs. Death, an impressive 9th. M. Shep rounding at the top 10. Mick Schumacher jumped up to 11th at the end. Baza P12 after retiring early on. Then we've got Mr. John, Red Bull Kim, Stereogram, Kaya, and towards the back of the grid then we have Jacko, of course, the championship leader. So I think he will be the driver to watch, perhaps more so than most.
Yeah, also keep an eye for Cena. I believe he's down in P19. He's very quick off the line. We've seen a few times already this season. He just racks up the positions off the line. He gains a good 5 or 6. Jacko would be one to watch, of course, as well. And a returning Alex Safro is back up. He's at the back of the grid as well in the second Alfa Romeo, so he'll be one to watch on his return.
As we get ready to go then at this fantastic circuit, look at the facilities on display here. Crowd absolutely loving it before the actions even got underway, but it's about to get underway right now as the lights are on the gantry, and we are away in Yas Marina with Daniel P. Wheelnut getting an excellent start then, well clear of Dom heading into turn 1. So the top 3 are as we were, top 4 I should say. And indeed, Cena has made up a lot of positions. He's already up to P12 somehow. And Daniel P. Wheelnut then under a little bit of pressure from Dom. He looks like he has a good slipstream, but nowhere near enough momentum to get past into the chicane, with Parsa now pressuring Dom all the way. We've got a spin towards the back of the field there. We've got M-Shep spinning around, so he's now last in the field. As look at this, Parsa then, he wants to make moves straight away. He's already using his deployment. Dom Smith not doing the same here, so I think Dom is playing the long game here. He's going to let Parsa go, maybe let the two in front scrap while Dom can save his deployment, or will he? Yes, he will, as Parsa goes around the outside and takes P2.
Yeah, Cena, I said he would have he's good at off the line. He's already gained 10 positions. I think it might have been helped. There's a little contact between the two Red Bulls on the exit of turn 1, held the midfield up just a little bit, and that might have just helped him through. Jacko hasn't really made any moves off the start. He's gained 1 spot. Alex Safra's gained 4, but he did jump the start. He's got a drive-through penalty, so that's not going to do him any favours.
Yeah, I think that might just be a little bit of rustiness for Alex Safra. He's actually disqualified from the session because he made a mistake coming out of the rather complex pit lane at this circuit. One of the unique quirks of this magnificent facility, but I think he ended up reversing in it and, well, ended up getting disqualified, as that's kind of just how the game works sometimes. But Daniel P. Wheelnut then, he's still got Parsa within a second of him out in front, so Parsa looking pretty good right now. In fact, I mean, the field is looking pretty close in general. As Stereogram becomes our first retirement of the session, will that be a safety car, be a virtual safety car? And I think Cena just about got ahead. Oh dear, just go. Oh, what's happening here? I think Cena must have thought he overtook under VSC.
That'd be interesting to see what happens there. A number of cars involved at the back of the field. Have got a good group of about 5 cars in. I think Alex Safra was just taking his drive-through when the virtual safety car was deployed, so he has actually just pitted. He couldn't take the penalty because the VSC was called as he was entering the pits. So the game does not count it. We are back green and underway already.
Parsa with quite a jump on Wheelnut then. He's right behind heading into this second long straight. He's got a terrible exit, so I don't think he's going to be putting Wheelnut under any sort of pressure here. Blair Grills goes past Dom Smith for P3, so Blair Grills then now up into the podium places. Dom Smith, he's falling behind. He's got the 2 Aston Martins right behind him. Joe Sayer pressuring Dom Smith here at Yas Marina's. Dom not really threatening the apex.
Yeah, on the restart, you were just saying that Parson made a or Will Knight, I can't remember which one. You said one of them had a bad exit. John had an even worse exit, very wide out the chicane. And that let Blair Grills just shoot up the inside and take the position. Now Dom's got a mirror full of Aston Martin green, as Joe is now sitting on his gearbox near enough. As we are about to get DRS enabled as we finish 2 laps, and onto lap 3. DRS enabled, so if you're within a second, that gives you the DRS down the activation zones, and that's good news for Parser because he's in the second gap to Daniel P. Wilnett, and he'll try and use that to get close to him down the straights. Although through the first few corners, Parser's gone round, he's in the wall, he's lost his wing. That is curse of the commentator right there for you. Parser gets going again, missing the wing. That's an instant pit stop for him. He's P7, but that will become very low down.
Angel versus Death retiring now. That will be a virtual safety car.
He's flipped the car. He's upside down. He's crashed at the same place as Parser. His car is upside down.
Well,
I can tell you that now.
If I go on board with Mr. John, we might see the car before it disappears. But, well, Angel versus Death then causing a VSC, which would be rather disappointing for the likes of Alex Zaffer, who opts to pit again. Don't tell me he was in the pits again when he was trying to do a drive-through. But anyway,
no,
either way...
He's taken it. It's disappeared from the screen.
Oh, well, there we go then. He's actually managed to do a drive-through mostly under VSC, so I think he'll be pretty happy with that one. Actually, he'll still be annoyed about lap 1, but hey-oh. So Daniel P. Wilnott then with a fairly big margin. I mean, ignore the margin right now because we're under VSC, but it was over 2 seconds before it was called. So Parse's moment there really not doing him a whole lot of favours, and Cena is right behind Parse, and you'd imagine Parse will just let his teammate through. I mean, even if he wasn't teammates, you got to let him through because he's got no wing. What's he going to do?
Yeah, well, obviously you can't overtake on the VSC, so we can't really let him through at the moment. The VSC is a bit of a godsend for Parse though, because of the crash for the McLaren behind, it's going to let him in. We're going to have some front runners come in as well. John Menzies makes the early pit stop at the end of lap 3.
Well,
will he be lucky, and would he commit the full pit stop under VSC though? And obviously passes in as well to repair the damage. We are green now, and it's another drive through. This time Mick Schumacher speeding under VSC. Red Bull Kim's coming to the pits early as well. But Parser and John Menzies are going to have mostly green flag pit stops, so they're not going to gain as much time as he would have liked. Meanwhile, Dom is back towards the... he's got close to the back of Blair Grills. He's had not the greatest of exits. So DRS will help him, but it won't get him close enough on this straight. It might help on the second straight though. Joe's still looking behind, having a little look towards the hairpin, into the chicane, but deciding against it, not quite close enough. Chris Johnson following in tandem for the Aston Martins, both of the top 5. Cena P6 from P19 already, so he's already made a great recovery. Got Jack in 7th. Jacko quietly recovering up to P8 already from the back of the grid. M-Shep's recovered from the spin. That left him down in 20th. He's up to 9th. And Kaya, I believe, the last of the no-stoppers, currently P10, with John Menzies 11th, Parser 12th, Mr. John 13th, and Bazza holding on to that final point at the moment.
Yeah, I think John Menzies, he did take a lot of his pit stop under, or he did take most of his pit stop under green flag conditions, but he will still have saved a good few seconds due to the opening part as Dom Smith has crashed out of the race. Now, will that trigger a safety car, a full safety car? Yes, it has. Now, will Wilnott beat the safety car out of the pit lane? You'd imagine he will. He will. Yeah, because safety car's not that quick.
Yeah, so the front 5 have got past the start line, but they will be able to go back around and take the pit stop before catching the safety car, so they're not going to miss out while the car's behind pit, so there isn't a major advantage for 6th downwards. Now Jacko, M-Shep and John Menzies back in again, so he might be going for the softs, you know.
Well, I'm not quite sure what John Menzies is up to. That's a strange one, but Dom... Well, I mean, he's normally Mr. Consistent, but that was a mistake that is easily made. I mean, I did it myself last season. I brought out a VSC and then immediately pitted. But yeah, it's a very horrible corner. The exit curb there is not nice. at all. But well, at least for Wheelnut, Blair Grills, Sarah Sports, Chris Johnson, and Cena, they will have the chance to pit and not be held up by the safety car. So there is no real damage done there. It's kind of evened things out, and I think the likes of Alex Zafro will be very pleased about the safety car because it allows him to go back up to the back of the pack.
Yeah, indeed. It's great news for building up for the championship because one title rival's out, the other one's down in P9. Also, yeah, as you've said about that second last corner, it's so easy to get that wrong. You take too much inside curb, you get a warning or an invalidation quality. You take too much, you hit that orange sausage curb, and 9 times out of 10, that's just instantly spitting you out towards the inside barrier, which unfortunately happened to Dom. Leader pits under the safety car, and you're going to see everyone that's yet to pit come in. So the top 5 are all straight away in. Kaya is the only one yet to pit, but of course he's coming towards the final few corners now. He was a long way down already, 27 seconds off the lead. Will he come in this lap?
Now, will Cena jump Chris Johnson here? Because Chris Johnson had to queue behind his teammate, and he has indeed jumped him. So Cena is now up to 4th after starting at the back. Although, okay, well, we can kind of ignore Kaya, to be honest. But yeah, Cena then effectively up to 4th after starting 19th. He was actually internet connection issues that was causing the problem.
Yeah, that's going to be annoying though for Cena that there is a car that's yet to pit in between him and the top 3, because he would like to just have the clear run at Sayer Sports on the restart. He's not going to get that. Kaya does have a tendency to pit during the safety car, but not at the start of it, so he could come in at the end of this lap, who knows. It's good news for those towards the back, obviously, that had problems early on. Mr. John, Alex Zafro, Mackie, Mick Schumacher had a drive-through. Zafro obviously having a drive-through as well. John Menzies pitted twice. M-Shep had a spin. They're all going to be back into the lead group on the restart.
Yeah, so Parsa then, his race very much rescued in P8. Jacko was pretty anonymous in the first part of the race. Didn't really notice a whole lot of activity going on. Maybe I was focused on something else, but after all that, yeah, he's still only 9th. He's only 1 place ahead of his teammate Ferrari, not having a fantastic race out there. But I think Sayer Sports would be very happy to find himself up in P3, and he's got Kaya. Well, I mean, as you say, Kaya does have a tendency to do some pretty random and, well, I suppose nonsensical strategy decisions, but we'll see what the Mercedes driver does. But if he does stay out, then I think Joe will be pretty happy to have that buffer and give himself a little bit of breathing space in case he needs to defend later on. And with the pace that Cena seems to have, I think Cena will be looking to go on a charge here. Cena, I'm very interested to see how much progress he can make from 5th. Well, 4th.
Yeah, it will be an EP4. I'd be very interested as well. I think he's got genuine pace. Not always able to show it due to issues like the internet issue in qualifying, but we've seen multiple times this season off the line. He just gets off the line so well and gains so many positions. I think it was Canada. He was at the back and he was like 5th by the end of that one.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, some people just get really good starts on this game for whatever reason, particularly at this track as well. For some reason, a lot of people, well, not say a lot of people, some people can find quite the amount of traction off the line for whatever reason. It's, I suppose the question is, why don't others find this traction? But, you know, maybe it's an AlphaTauri thing, who knows? But Parsa doesn't seem to be finding the same level of start grip. But Kaya then stays out. The safety car stays out. Not really sure why. I suppose we're waiting for Mick Schumacher, Marco to close up to the back of the field. But I mean, it wasn't really necessary to do that. You don't really have to wait for all of the cars to queue up at the back of the pack, as we saw at this very circuit in 2021 at the end of the real F1 season. But you know, of course, the track in real life now looks rather different. That chicane at the end of the second back straight no longer there. But of course, thankfully, we still have the iconic quirk where you lose a lane on the right-hand side of that first back straight. That hasn't gone away. You still have to kind of go towards the left a little bit because they built the grandstand too close to the track. But still, it's become an iconic feature of this wonderful venue, and we love to see it. As the safety car is in this lap now, Wheelnut has a lot of time to prepare because it's a pretty long final sector. So he's just going to have to take it slow, let the safety car do its thing, and hopefully don't floor too early because the game will limit your speed. But it's not the most difficult venue to do a safety car restart at.
No, I think the layout of the track kind of helps. There's a lot of slow corners. I think it might be the longest final sector on the calendar in terms of time taken in it. Possibly Singapore might have that honour, but the way the track, it kind of lets you back the field up and have a pretty easy run to the line, and the amount of time you have prior warning to the safety car coming in means you can let the safety car build a pretty big gap very quickly, and then have a fair few corners just to set it up. As you're about to get underway, then Daniel P. Wilnut controls the field, and he's waiting. He's waiting.
Yeah, he accelerated and then braked. Not entirely sure that's going to be, well, not frowned upon, but he's done what he needed to do. He's only half a second clear, as Cena has already passed Kaya for P4, so he's not going to have to worry about the Mercedes driver anymore. So Cena can get right on with it. He's just a second behind Sarah Sports, who was only 2/10 behind Blair Grills then, so Blair Grills mustn't have had a pretty smooth turn 1 or 2, as Kaya is already falling down the field. In fact, I think Kaya has crashed. Indeed he has. He's gone for a spin. So Kaya quickly dispatched, as we see Jack going for a move at the hairpin on Chris Johnson there. So Jack, he's keen to get on with things, but as so is Parsa. He's right behind the Williams driver, who's right behind the Aston Martin here. Could we see a double move from Parsa? We know he likes to be brave on the brakes, but I don't think it's going to happen this time around. He's better off biding his time. But someone who doesn't seem to be biding his time too much, as these two go side by side here. Jack could get quite a strong exit here, but someone else has got a strong exit up ahead. I'm going to cut towards it. Is Cena. Cena is not going to be close enough this time around, but Jack then around the outside into the chicane, and Jack in the Williams has got it done, as you say. And Parsa was looking to have a bit of a go there as well. I think he may do it here.
Chris is wide. Chris is
very
round.
wide, and he's hit the
Jacko.
Ferrari, and he's out of the session. He's crashed into the championship leader. Jacko out of the race because Chris Johnson has gone for a spin, and Jacko collected him.
Yeah, there was nothing Jacko could do, Chris. He ran wide, trying hard to defend from Parsa, having got passed by Jack, and he just lost the back end. He was trying to save it, he lost it, bounced back round, and just got collected by the Ferrari. That is big for the championship. Obviously for Daniel P. Wilnut, and now M-Shep's got damage as well. He's having to come in the pit. Alex Safra's just charged through up to 9th on the restart as well. He was right to the back. He's already up to 9th position. I think he's just getting 3 spots in that last corner. He's on the charge at the moment. Mr. John up to 8th as well and all that, but it's left a bit of a gap between that group and the group in front. You've got Jack 3 seconds off the front 4, so the front 4 are on their own now, and Cena is eyeing up at a podium position here. He's got the ERS on. He's got the DRS not available to him just yet, but he might not even need it here. He's going to line up Sayer Sports into the chicane, and he backs out of it. He holds off. Blair Grills also getting close to the back of Daniel P. Wilnut, so the top 4 positions all possibly changing soon.
It's going to change very soon for 3rd and 4th, as Cena, he's on the overtake. Joe makes him go around the outside. Will the AlphaTauri driver have the momentum on the Aston Martin? Yes, he will. So Cena goes around the outside of Sayer Sports in the Aston Martin, and he is up to the podium places as Parsa behind him, his teammate, moves himself up to the top 5. Cena going for a bit of an excursion there, but the move was well complete before then, so that's all fine. So Cena then, he can really go for a charge here. He's only 2 seconds behind the race leader.
Yep, Chris Johnson getting a penalty as well. That's not going to help his cause. He's going to try and catch up to John Menzies in 14th to try and get the last point. What's happened?
Cena so nearly crashed at the final, or the penultimate corner. That's the fastest lap in the process, but he was so so close to losing that car. I'm actually very surprised that he saved. That was a good bit of car control. Well, I suppose maybe a lack of car control, but then a brilliant bit of car control. And, well, speaking of car control, Parsa is lacking in it as he goes for a spin on the exit of turn 2. Probably took too much inside curb, so his teammate Parsa is out of the race after making his way back up to the top 5 after an eventful beginning of the race for him. And, well, he just undid all of his work. As Cena, he's out of deployment. He's got a lot of pace, but he's got no energy.
Yeah, I think that might be just be a side effect of him just trying so hard early on to catch
Oh,
Joe.
Blair Grylls
sideways doing off.
Now, does Cena have DRS? Yes, he does. So I think that will pretty much cancel out the deployment unless Blair Grylls is running less. And oh, they both have it, of course. Yeah, so can Blair Grylls go around the outside of the AlphaTauri driver? No, he can't. So Cena then up into P2, so he's gone from 19th. He does not like that corner, does he? He's gone from 19th to 2nd, which is already a great result in itself, but we still have over 4 laps of this race left to go. So Cena then, well, he's kind of in the box seat here. I mean, he could do a lot of emotional damage to Daniel P. Wheelnut because
he's gone wide.
He's pushing very hard here. He's really on the limit here. I think he's going for a win it or bin it mentality, but he's 4th in the championship. Granted, Wheelnut will be the championship leader and he will lose points to him, but I mean, Cena just needs to keep himself consistent, which has been his undoing for several seasons now. Same goes for his teammate, but as Mick Schumacher then goes for a bit of a crash out of the final corner. Not normally a place we see people retire, or has he done that in the pits? No, I think that was a crash.
It is just worth pointing out as well, Blair Grylls has picked up a time penalty, so if Joe can stay within 3 seconds, that's a podium for the Aston Martin driver.
Joe's got a lot of pace around here. He's been loving it so far. Top 5 in qualifying, and he's been running very well in the race. And I think Cena, every now and again his car does seem to jitter a little bit. I wonder if his connection is going to suffer here, but Wheelnut then, he's got more deployment than Cena behind. I mean, to be honest, who doesn't? Cena's got 3%, so Cena just needs to utilise that cornering speed that he has. The gap's 1.6 seconds at the start of the final sector. Let's see how that develops, and actually the gap's going up here, so I think Wheelnut, he's looking pretty good right now. I thought Cena may have had him, but Wheelnut looks like he's got some pace here, because Cena, well, he's got no deployment.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one big disadvantage for Cena, the lack of deployment. Wheelnut's got significantly more. I think he's just been controlling the pace. He's been in a good position all race, obviously leading the whole way. And on top of that, as he showed in qualifying, he had the low on that pace as well. And he's just controlling it. He's not been, on the ragged edge, as we've seen Cena a few times already. So I think he's just using the little bit of extra pace that he has in his pocket, just making sure that the lead is safe. And obviously Cena without ERS can't really just use it up to charge to the back of him. So as long as the Mercedes just avoids any mistakes, he might be okay here. Cena might need to look in his mirrors a little bit, because Blair Grylls has not dropped off too much. He might have just fallen out of DRS though, which I think he did by just the slimmest of margins. However, the ERS deployment is in Blair Grylls' advantage, and he's using that down the back straight a little bit just to get back into DRS. And he will be able to get the DRS down the back straight here, because there's 2 detection points, and this is the second one now. And there we go, DRS is open. Cena is going to the support paddock to say hello to some of the F2 drivers, I guess. It's going to cost him P2 though. Round the outside goes Blair Grylls, 2nd place for the McLaren driver, easy as you like.
I think that was an attempt to break the toe there, but I mean, he would have just lost time doing that. I don't think he lost the position necessarily, because Blair Grylls pretty much had the move done before they got to the corner, as Chris Johnson sets the fastest lap of the race from P14. He's had quite the eventful afternoon here in Yas Marina, but Blair Grylls then already 1.3 seconds clear of Cena. Okay, 1.1, that may fluctuate quite a bit, but I think Cena is just happy with the podium. It will be P2 for him if he can stay within 3 seconds. So the AlphaTauri driver then sort of relinquishing that P2 on the road, obviously feeling that he can't catch up to Wheelnut ahead. So it's looking pretty good for Wheelnut. He just needs to keep it together, which is potentially easier said than done, because as you may have seen, there's a fair few retirements from this race. So we the 14 cars left in the race will be the 14 cars that score points.
Which is good news for Chris Johnson, of course. Being the last in the points means the fastest lap point will count for him, so he'll get that second point. Cena just holding on to DRS by the skin of his teeth. He'll be using it down the back straight, but he has absolutely zero deployment left, so he's not really going to be making any attacking move on Blair Grills unless it's a mistake from the McLaren driver. Blair Grills' upturn in pace the last few laps is good for him because he's going to hold on to the podium as it stands. Joe has just slipped out of that 3-second window, and Joe is also out of ERS, so it's looking good on the McLaren drive just to hold on to P3. He's P2 on the road. The penalty is going to drop at the spot, but he is going to be on the podium as it stands. Jack with a very good performance in P5, a good performance from the Williams driver.
We've got an Alpine going around the outside of the Red Bull of Mr. John. He's just about kept it within track limits. They bang wheels as they go through the chicane. Mr. John then perhaps cutting a bit of the corner in order to do that, and Mr. John then sort of barging Mackie out a bit wide there. Will Mackie go up the inside of this next corner? I think he was thinking about it, but in the end didn't really have the momentum to do anything with it. And Alex Zaffro has joined this fight now, so we have a 3-car fight for P7 while things get a bit calmer up the front. This battle is just heating up as they are about to enter the final lap. Wheelnut is... Oh, no! Well, some of them will enter the final lap.
He's kept it out of retirement, but he's got no wing. He's going to have to do the final lap with no wing. He's got a 13-second gap to Red Bull Kim, but he's got a 9-second penalty. He's got to be 6 seconds clear of the Haas driver. John Menzies is just behind that Haas as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if Safro can hold it to the top 10 here.
Yeah, of course, Kim hadn't reached the crash site yet, so he's just gained a good few seconds. And, well, I mean, he's actually not really closing in as much as I thought he perhaps would be. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. I think he will get within 6 seconds, though. But Cena, then, he's still within DRS, but again, his no deployment left, and the gap at the front actually is rather small. But I think Wheelnut doesn't really need to worry about that, even if Blair Grills passes him, because of course Blair Grills has that penalty for too many track limits violations. Cena does not like that corner, does he? He's like threatening to go out into the harbour, but just about keeps it within the confines of the facility. But Daniel P. Wheelnut, then, this has been an exemplary drive. This is how you put a championship together, and he just needs to do it now for just a few more races, just a few more weeks. But this has been a fantastic drive from the Manxman as he rounds the final corner. Daniel P. Wheelnut wins in Yas Marina. Brilliant driving. Cena, from 19th on the grid, finishes in P2. Blair Grills completes the podium with Sayer Sports, a very impressive P4. Looked like he could be in contention for a podium for a while, but just misses out in the end. Jack, a very impressive top 5 for him. Baza worked his way up to 6th in the end. Indecisive Mackie, thanks to some penalties for those ahead, finishes in 7th, with Mr. John in 8th. Now let's see how these final drivers round the last few corners. Alex Zaffro does have penalties, so let's see where he ends up. It's behind John Menzies, Red Bull Kim and M. Shep. So Red Bull Kim then rounding out the top 10, keeping it all together and getting less penalties than Alex Zaffro. M. Shep 11th, Alex Zaffro 12th, and we're going to have Kaya and Chris Johnson taking the final point there. But I think that may be the first time M. Shep has actually gained positions thanks to penalties. Not normally his forte.
Yeah, he does have a habit of sometimes picking up a penalty or two, the Haas driver. But but gained position. Chris Johnson rounds off the field there in P14. He'll get the final point. I think he gets fastest lap.
Driver of the day, surely. Yeah. No surprise there.
I don't think that could be argued, to be honest.
Yeah. Did everything he needed. A pity about those internet issues in qualifying, because I did see his name join the session rather late. Who knows what could have been for the AlphaTauri driver. I mean, if he started anywhere in the top 10, he could have led into turn 1. But in the end, it was not to be, as it was Daniel P. Wheelnut who will take a fairly big lead in the championship, because Dom and Jacko did not finish. So I believe that will be a 23-point lead for Daniel P. Wheelnut out in front. There's your grid, or your race results. Kind of gone through them already, but here they are on your screen for any additional info you may want.
In terms of the championship, Cena now up to tied for third with Dom. He's got 18 points in this race, so they're both on 83. Jacko's still on 90. Daniel P. Wilnut with the win is on 113, so the gap is 23, like you say.
I think he'll be very happy with that. So just needs to keep it up, keep up the consistency. He's already got the pace, so this is what you need to build up a championship. And same goes for Cena as well. I mean, I think Cena was wise there to not really put up too much of a fight against Blair Grills at the end. So some intelligent driving there from the AlphaTauri driver. Hopefully for his sake he'll be able to complete qualifying in Bahrain, where we're heading to next. It's an Arabian special tonight, but yeah, well, I guess we'll see how that goes. Bahrain normally offers some pretty spicy action.
Indeed it does. That was Daniel's 5th win in TGP2 as well. Gets in the championship lead. Just in terms of the top 4, you've got a breakaway in the top 4. You've got Wilnut, Jacko, Dom and Cena. And then I think there's a tie for 5th at the moment between Mr. John and Blair Grills. I think Blair Grills will be 5th on the basis of that podium, because I don't think Mr. John's got one yet this season. Behind them in 5th and 6th of the championship is Chris Johnson in 7th. So he's jumped 2 people in terms of passer and Mike, but he's also been passed by 2 people, so stays exactly where he is. So Chris Johnson 7th for 48 points. Mike and Passer are now 8th and 9th in the championship, both on 47 points. And then Alex Coates rounds off the top 10 in the stands at the moment. That 5th position for him puts him on 42 points. And that's your top 10 in the standings at the moment, if my maths is correct.
Let's just assume it is, because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to. I'm not looking to counter it, but well, on to Bahrain then. A bit of a different vibe here, a bit less technical, but still usually offers some pretty exciting racing. Of course, the TGP1 stream from the current TGP1 season, 11,000 views on that stream. Absolute scenes. I think some of my fans are tuning in to watch me take that podium, but yeah, it's great to see for the series. And yeah, I don't know what it was, but you know, people just seem to really take to it. They must just love Bahrain. But hopefully some of those viewers will be back to see some of the action from TGP2.
It'll be interesting to see how the field goes around here as well. I'm sure Jacko and Dom will be very amped up to try and recover some lost grounds here. They'll be setting up for pole position. Daniel P will not want to keep up his form, because I think that's his 3rd win in a row, you know, as well. I think he won both races last week, did he not?
We did, yeah.
So he's only had 5 wins across his TGP2 career, and 3 of them have been in 5 races this season, so he's very much the man in form at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen in previous seasons how easy it can be to lose that form, and as we saw for Jacko there, sometimes it's through no fault of your own. Now, granted, you could argue that Jacko should not have been in that position anyway due to his qualifying result, but you know, he was looking set to recover a good chunk of points, but then disaster struck. So let's see then, who will be the first driver to leave the pits? So I just get some of the info up there to make everything a bit easier, because of course I'm commentating and directing, not always the easiest thing to do, but you know.
It's the house that's out first of Red Bull Ken. he will be the first car to set a time, as long as he doesn't validate. You've got the McLaren just behind, which I believe is Angel versus Death, and then you've got some of the others, Nell Jack, Indecisive Mackie, Jacko, all coming up the pits thick and fast, Stereogram, both Mercedes. So everyone streaking out early on in qualifying, then going to try and make themselves a gap. Quite easy to get it wrong around this track. There's a couple of points that can really just bite at you, particularly the end of sector 2 into sector 3, that long right hander. If you just take a bit too much curb, the back end just kind of goes around on you. You're going for a spin. If you're unlucky, you'll spin to the inside and hit the wall. If you're unlucky, you'll spin it into the inside wall, and that's your session done. If you're lucky, you go to the outside where there's all the runoff in the world, and you just get back going again.
Yeah, I mean it's the curbs that are probably the biggest, car killer at this circuit. It's a circuit I used to enjoy quite a bit, and I would still like it now, but the curbs just really, they're not great. They can be a bit lethal.
Yeah, it's the exit of turn 7 as well, just on the way downhill to the tight right hander, just coming out that left hander. The curb on the exit, if you run over it sometimes at the wrong angle, the car just likes to spit yourself out, a bit like Hamilton did in practice in the McLaren in 2008. It kind of sends you off towards the barrier on the other side of the track, which kind of just wrecks your session there and then. As the first laps are now underway, Red Bull Kim is the first. He's got Angel versus Death right on his tail, so Angel versus Death isn't worried about making any room for himself here. Infamously, he had a bit of a spat with his teammate back on F1 2014 at this circuit, as he was down at the bottom 6 when his teammate was going for pole position.
Who could ever forget? Yeah, his teammate who allegedly was going for pole position, not very amused with Mr. Kenny, but I'm sure the two have reconciled and are now on good terms. You see a phantom yellow flag for no reason. Maybe there's some.
I could tell you that yellow flag. That is Red Bull Kim deciding to just let everyone go through as he's invalidated his lap. So Angel versus Death will be the first to set a time.
I meant the one on the one before the final two corners. There was just a
never mind. I was looking at the one where there's actually a dot. Sorry.
Oh, there is actually Red Bull Kim, who's travelling at the slowest speed known to man. Oh, actually, he's just stopped. Okay, he can go. You don't have to.
The funny thing is, he was at the front of the train. He's now at the back, and there's a good 30 to 40 seconds difference between the front and the back of the train. First lap's coming in now. Nell Jack early on. Fastest, immediately beaten by Jacko, 137.9. So that's an early marker set by the Ferrari driver.
As
Parser immediately beats it.
What can Wheelnut do? Cena now goes quick as Wheelnut. Can beat it. 300th clear to take provisional pole. Very much provisional, very early on in the session. But Parson Cena looking pretty good, as is new championship leader Daniel P. Wheelnut. Jacko up to 4th, so chances are he's already going to do a good bit better than he did in Yas Marina.
That's a big off there. Has he caught that curve I mentioned?
I think he may have actually gone for a spin beforehand. So maybe it was actually the turn, what is it, turn
6?
Turn 7, but like the entry curve.
6 into 7, yeah. That
as
can
opposed
spit
to the
you out
exit
sometimes
curve
as well.
Yeah, I think he was about to save it, but then as he was correcting it, it snapped in the other direction. And where is he going?
He's getting out of the way of his teammate. Baz is just going through as well.
Very erratic, methods of getting out of the way here. Some of them are a bit extreme and a bit over the top, but I mean, hey, if it works, then when you're not getting disqualified for slowing down, then I suppose do whatever works. As John Menzies is up into the top 5, but still a long way to go in this session.
Yeah, indeed. I just caught the end of the Ferrari going off there, and I've just seen him going backwards across the track, so I wondered what had happened for a moment. I don't think anyone's really going for a second lap.
Blair Grills, perhaps.
At the moment, I think they're all sort of backing off. I was wondering about John Menzies, but he's backed it off. We're going to see a fair few cars come to the pits now.
Now, is Red Bull Kim actually doing his lap this time? I think he is. So let's see what the Haas driver can actually do when it's valid. Not much, but it's P16 for the Haas driver. But yeah, I don't think there is anyone else on laps unless Sayer Sports is, and well, apparently he's a 10th up, but I don't think he's going to have the deployment to do a competent final sector.
Baz is going again as well. Okay, it was weird. It flashed up for me. He was nearly half a second up, but now it's saying it's 3.5 seconds down. So I'm not sure what's happened there with the timing. I think Mackey's still going as well down in P11. Kai is a couple of attempts off his best in 14th. Alex Zephyr is about to start a lap. He's just setting up with the last sector. He's got a McLaren in front of him, which will be Michael Kenny, who I think is on his way in. He is, so Zephyr will have a clear lap. Although that said, all the front runners are coming back out for their second runs now, just as Zephyr starts the lap.
Well, hopefully for Zephyr, yeah, everyone moves out the way.
And he's gone wide into turn 1 as well. I don't think that was really traffic assisted. I think he's just outbraked himself more than anything.
Now, what can indecisive Mackie do then? Will he complete this lap? No, he won't. So, guess we can ignore that. We might as well go along with Alex Zaffro because everyone else is on an out lap. No real reference point then for the first sector. I suppose he'll do better than he did last time, considering he was disqualified. So, as long as he sets a lap, or even if he crashes, technically a DNF's better than a DSQ.
Well, just getting on the tracks and improving from Abu Dhabi due to what happened with his car. He just kind of went straight on, a bit Sean Gallale like. He just went straight on in the pit exit in Abu Dhabi and underneath the track, and he's going big moment. He's kept it out of the barriers though, and he's gonna keep pushing, I think, to get the lap on the board. Don't think it's going to trouble the front runners too much due to that mistake. Into last corner, takes the inside curb, straightens up the exit, a little bit of a tank slapper, gets the DRS open, down to line, puts in P12, 129.2, but he will know that there is definite room for improvement there.
Yeah, and you may have noticed that he's trialling out a low drag helmet configuration. The thinnest helmet yet, but he's allowed to trial that out for this race. As Alex Afro P12 then, so he's already, as you said, done better than last time. Now, what can Parsa do in this first sector? He's nearly 0.2 up on his previous best, keeps it nice and tidy through the next few corners. Now, there is a Williams ahead. We did see some Williams cars causing traffic in the previous section. I say cars, it was the only Williams that was in the section. No, John Menzies was in the Williams, I do apologise. But
yeah, but Menzies was at the session at the time. Now Jack getting out of the way there. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah,
no,
but obviously Menzies DNF'd early in Abu Dhabi quali, so it was the other Williams that was getting in the way a bit. But he's got out of the way this time. Pass is still going along. Let's see what he does in sector 2. 6 temps up. This is a big lap already from the AlphaTauri driver.
I noticed in TGP1 this season that I found a lot of track evolution. The car felt a bit understeery and a bit, well, just wasn't great really. But Parsa then rounds the final 2 corners. What can the AlphaTauri driver do? DRS is wide open and it is provisional pole by nearly 0.4 of a second. Wheel nuts invalidated his lap, as has Cena, as has Jacko. John Menzies hasn't though, and he's basically matched his sector 1 time from the previous lap. He's he's found a decent chunk in the second sector. Then I don't think he's going to be challenging for pole position, unless of course on his previous lap sector 3 really did not go to plan. But let's see what the Williams driver can do. Plenty of room for improvement here. Could find himself on the provisional front row if all things go to plan. And John Menzies then does indeed find himself on that provisional front row. He's a 10th clear of wheel nuts time so far. But of course, a lot of time left to go in this session. Dom Smith is on a lap. He's got an Alfa Romeo in front of him.
No,
Who is that?
Dom's done a lap. Dom just did a
Oh,
lap and backed off. He had just jumped John Menzies before he set the lap, so Dom had got up from 7th to 5th. He's now to 6th. M-Shep just went up to 7th position as well. Blair Grill's on a lap. Larry is improving in sector 1, so let's see what the McLaren driver could do fresh off the podium in Abu Dhabi.
yeah, Blair Grills then. Every now and again, he does have a great deal of pace. But let's see what the McLaren driver can do down this smallest of the 3 DRS zones we have at the circuit. Or perhaps at least effective anyway in general, as Parsa then went for another lap and further improved his time as Blair Grills went too wide through turn 12 and has invalidated his latest efforts. Cena's going forward again. He's 3/10 up here. Don't think he's going to trouble pole position here, but provisional front row not out of the question. What can Cena do? Can he make it a provisional? AlphaTauri 1-2. Yes, he can. It's a 1:27.3. Puts some distance between himself and John Menzies in P3. As Wheelnut's going for an out lap here. It's a bit early, I would have thought.
For a third run.
Yeah, it's a bit... Yeah.
That is a stunning lap by Parsa, though. He's 2/3 of a second ahead of everyone else. Baz has just gone P4 as well in the second Ferrari. But that is a huge margin for TGP2 standards. You very rarely see a gap like that unless it's like changeable conditions.
Well, let's see then how that would have compared to some of the TGP1 laps.
I try to think it'd probably be quicker than us.
Well, I mean, let's see. I'll have a quick look, but yeah, back to the action that we have live in front of us. Blair Grills is on a lap. He's 2/10 up in the first sector here, so he could find himself jumping up a good few places because, well, for most drivers, they are as close as ever. And Blair Grills then keeps it valid. He may get a bit of a tow down here from the AlphaTauri up in front. Perhaps not. I think AlphaTauri is too far ahead, but let's see.
So, Parsa's lap would have put him P12 in TGP1 qualifying.
That's well within the field. So,
yeah,
not
it would have put
bad.
him just ahead of Wet Lemons, who obviously was in TGP2 last season. Ahead of a couple of former champions as well. So that is a very, very fast lap for the AlphaTauri driver.
Well, could we see Parsa in TGP1 next season? Who knows? Well, I suppose he would have to string a championship together, I suppose. But so maybe not. But then again, could prove me wrong. He could prove me wrong. Plenty of time left in this season. But Alex Zafra then, he's going for a better lap anyway. He's 6/10 up in that first sector with that prototype head protection that he's got going on. Surely he'll want to be a bit higher than 15th. Of course, Alex Zafra has won races in the past. Of course, that race in Silverstone where he got the tyre choice absolutely perfect. And, well, let's see what he can do in this second sector. Misses the apex just a little bit. Takes a bit too much of that exit curve. It unsettles the car. You lose a bit of time. You go out wider than you would want. But he's nearly a second up on his previous time. He could find himself into the top 10 here. Perhaps a little bit higher. Could he get ahead of M-Shep if he nails this final sector then? Round the final 2 corners. The final corner doesn't really exist, but it's officially counted. So let's see what he does then. Alex Zafra across the line, and it is indeed P10. Good bit cleared, Sarah Sports.
Yeah, a good improvement there from Alex Zafra. I'm just going to say the last corner doesn't exist unless you're Jack Aitken, where he decided to put it in the wall coming out of that corner in the Sakir race a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he decided to do it, but it was something that... Well, it happened
the corner decided
anyway.
It for him, I guess, but...
Yeah. Let's see, then Jacko's on a lap. He's 2/10 up on his previous best, which... Well, actually, do you know what? That would only put him in... well, it would actually keep him where he is at the moment, but the second sector is a lot bigger, so let's see then. Has he found more time? Yes, he has. And can he just nail this final sector? Then he was the championship leader prior to Yas Marina. But let's see what he can
Ooh.
do through the final corners here. And we have a Mercedes crossing the line. I hope that's not a wheel nut. And whoever it is going into the pits anyway. And Jacko goes fourth. I think it actually was wheel nut. I think wheel nut invalidated yet again. But he's not going to have time to go out again.
I think there's going to be a bit of unhappiness at Alpine. I think Dom was on a lap. I don't think he was improving much, but I think he got heavily held up by his own teammate, and Dom has had to back off the lap. So, I don't think all's going to be too well in that Alpine garage after the session. Baz is just on an outlap. Menzies just behind his as well. I was about to say we've got an Aston Martin on the lap. I think that might be an outlap for Joe. Or it is a lap, so
No,
Joe just coming down towards the last few corners now. It's in a little bit of clear air, so shouldn't have had any cars holding them up. So he rounds the final corner. 28.6 is his current best. He looks like he might just beat that a little bit. 3/10 up to P11.
Well,
I
you
don't
just
think
stayed
that was an
P11.
improvement.
No.
So,
Improvement in time, but not position.
yes. So we're in the last minute, actually. M-Shep, though. Let's just have a shout out to M-Shep. He's just gone P3. While we're watching that, M-Shep's now P3, so that's a brilliant lap from the Haas driver. Cena is improving, though, as well, and he's looking like he could also break into the 126s. I don't think he's going to catch Passer, but he could just break into the 26s, get that AlphaTauri front row back, as Daniel Piwona is currently P2. We've got an Alfa Romeo off in the second sector, which is Zafro, and he's out of the session. Cena takes P2, actually got very close.
Closer than a lot would have expected here. I think Jacko's crossed the line with just enough time. Indeed, he has. So Jacko then will get another run, and Cena does move out the way. Yes, he does. Who else have we got on lap? We've got a Red Bull crossing the line.
We've got
that
Menzies.
Must have been Marco, and
John
we've got
Menzies
John Menzies. He is on a lap, indeed. What can he do? Zafro's out the session then. So Zafra, Kaya and Mr. John we don't need to worry about, but John Menzies, who will have to worry about him, currently sits in P6 on a 1:27.5, and he is up on his time. So John Menzies crosses the line, and it is 5th for the Williams driver. Now
Jacko's invalidated.
Blair Grills hasn't. Nor has Dom Smith, as he rounds the final two corners. Just missed the apex at the penultimate corner, but what can he do then? He crosses the line. It's P7. It is an improvement. Had he had slightly fresher tyres, though, that could have been a top 6. But Chris Johnson he's about to cross the line. Up. Chris Johnson then P10. That's not really where you want to start. I always get really annoyed when I qualify 10th. But Blair Grills
to the line.
P6.
Takes P6.
Knocks Dom Smith then down to P8.
And the last car is Jack. He's the last car to do a lap. He's half a second up at the moment, but he's got a heck of a gap to make up to challenge the top 10. He needs a second. And I can't see it happening in this sector unless he made a major mistake on his previous best. He's also got very little ERS left, so he might gain in time. I don't think he's going to really trouble the top 10 though with this, as he comes towards him right now. A 129 flat becomes a 28.8. It's an improvement in time, but not position. And I believe that is the session done, with the exception of Stereogram, who's just come to the line now. He's also improved in time, but not position. He stays P17, and that is your qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Well, I suppose we could say this for nearly every session we do, but there'll be some drivers very happy and some drivers not so happy. But one team that will be very happy is AlphaTauri, taking a front row lockout, and look at the margin they have over the rest of the field. I mean, like, they've laid down quite the marker here, and if quali pace is anything to go by, we could see the two of these go off into the distance like Mercedes did in 2014, and to be honest, nearly every other year after that. But anyway, Wheelnut then is P3. I think he'll be pretty happy with that. M-Shep, fantastic performance from him to qualify in 4th. John Menzies is 5th with Blair Grills. Jacko, Dom in 8th. So Jacko 7th, Dom 8th. Baza 9th, with Chris Johnson completing the top 10. I suppose no real disasters in that session for the front runners. They're all in the top 10, but I think Dom and Jacko would maybe wish they were just a little bit higher, because we've seen the likes of M-Shep get ahead of them. But I mean, that's not to discredit M-Shep. I mean, it was a pretty good lap from the Haas driver. Let's see what he can do in the race. Can he sneak a podium in this session as we get ready to go under the lights here at Bahrain? Of course, F1 cars don't have headlights, but they don't need headlights because the track is always lit. But anyway, the countdown is over and the lights begin to turn on, and we are underway in Bahrain, and it's a fantastic start, or maybe a poor start from Parsa, as Wheelnut then looks to be challenging into turn 1. He's got the outside line. Cena has the inside. Cena has the lead then, but will he get a good exit then? Because Parsa may have the better run here, and I think Parsa may have been caught out by Wheelnut there on the curb, but Parsa then drops a place, and it's Cena who leads, but it's still an AlphaTauri 1-2, and they're all through it cleanly. Still a lot to play for, as John Menzies is 4th. M-Shep's had a terrible start. He's down to 10th already.
Yep, what happened with M-Shep, he tagged the back of the AlphaTauri into turn 1, and it sent him round. He recovered quickly, but he's dropped down to 10th. Marco, also the Red Bull, off up back of the field. He's had a spin. He's recovered with no damage. But yes, the AlphaTauri's 1-2 information, and starting to pull away already from the Mercedes and 3rd of Wheelnut.
Well, it's a formation that may be a bit of change here as Parsa goes up the inside at turn 11. There's really no need to fight this much. I mean, it's lap 1. I don't know what's going on between the two of these drivers. Side by side then through turn 12. I mean, I think they're very much allowed to race at AlphaTauri, and what this is doing, as Cena goes very wide there, it's allowing Wheelnut to get right back in the fight here, and he's got the perfect view of these two up ahead, as Parsa then, look at the two of these, they're going side by side through the entire circuit, but Wheelnut's got a fantastic exit here, and sure, he's going to be putting pressure on perhaps both of these drivers, as Cena now looks to go back up the inside. Are they going to be 3 wide into turn 1? I think they are, and just about keeping Wheelnut behind them. But look at John Menzies around the outside of turn 1, forces Wheelnut to go a bit wide. Didn't really force them, but we have a VSC as Kaya retires from the session on the straight, so that must have been contact related. But yeah, the camera wouldn't really change for me at turn 1 there. I wasn't very amused. I was hoping it would change to something that was actually of any use.
He's right in the middle of the circuit. He's right in the middle of the circuit. I'm on board. Marco's just taking a pit stop, having spun at the start. He was, yeah, as I've said, in the middle of the circuit. So VSC, the right call there. And I can tell you, those two AlphaTauris definitely hit each other at least twice on that opening lap, especially out of the end of this straight. There was definite contact between the two, and they gave each other another bit of a bump at the following corner. So they were very lucky not to take each other out there, because it was very, very close between the two on the opening lap of the race.
These two need to just work together, slipstream each other, break away from the pack, and then start fighting each other in the final few laps. But there's no real point to it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's entertaining for us, but from a strategical point, it's frustrating, because the two of these good friends off the circuit, of course, fan favourites, of course, Parsa and Cena. But Wheelnut will be loving it right behind them as we get underway again. Oh no, has Cena disconnected? I think he may have. He's lagging, certainly. He's just about holding on to second place, just about holding on to his internet connection. But he's got quite the run on Parsa. Will he throw it down the inside? No, he won't. And Parsa, tiny bit deep there, but Cena's lag does seem to be picking up a little bit. His car's getting a bit twitchy. And Parsa breaking away a little bit from Cena. Of course, it was Parsa who did take pole position with Cena just under a tenth behind him here. So it was Parsa who lost the lead at the start. So maybe he's got a little bit more race pace than his teammate. But at the front, it's as we were prior to the VSC, compared to what we are now. But Wheelnut then, he's very interested in the AlphaTauri in front of him. Well, both of them, but particularly Cena.
Yeah, the two AlphaTauris just, like you said, just need to get in a slipstream, pull away, and then just fight once you're away from the cars behind. But seeing his lag and making a mistake at the exit of turn 10, that's just let Will not just stick with the second AlphaTauri now. So the AlphaTauri's going to be at risk. Cena does tend to lose his ERS very quickly as well compared to other drivers, so he could find himself vulnerable the next few laps if he's not careful.
Yeah, and Jacko here is putting quite a lot of pressure on the Williams of John Menzies just ahead of him. Jacko with plenty of deployment left. Of course, the VSC does help you a little bit as Cena continues to invent his own racetrack here. And I think Cena, he's using a lot of his deployment, I think, unnecessarily here. I think he needs to just, remember every now and again, you're just not going to be quick enough, and you need to relinquish the position as Jacko thought he was going to go for it. Well, I mean, I suppose he sort of half went for it there, and it did make John Menzies go a bit deep into the corner. They both have DRS, but I think Jacko has the straight line speed advantage. Can he brave around the outside of turn 4? He's going to try for it, and I think they've made contact as John Menzies goes for a spin at turn 4, and he's trying to find an appropriate place to rejoin the track. I think he will be a go, so I don't really think he needs to worry about that, but
I think he's got going. I thought he was stuck for a minute.
He's wasted a lot of time there, but Will not then still over the back of Cena.
Yeah, you wonder if Shiraz might just have a look at that, possibly. Cena, again, very wide. That's going to let Will not have a run. And also, Cena's lost the DRS to his teammate now, so he's definitely vulnerable, although he has caught up down that back straight. Again, at the cost of his ERS.
Well, how's Parsa doing for us? Parsa doing very well for deployment, actually. He's the best of the top three. The top three, who, by the way, are streaking clear of the rest. Then again, I suppose Jacko's only 1.4 behind, but Alex Zaffro then...
Safety car deployed as well.
Safety car, no, Cena. He's going to have to queue here. Cena is going to drop at least 2 positions, you'd imagine. As,
Wheelnuts hit the back of him.
Has he picked up damage?
He's got a penalty. He has got damaged wings out.
So if he pits again, they're changing the wing now. Okay, so yeah. I think he must have had.
But he's got a time penalty.
He's got that time penalty. So he's basically lost 5 seconds in this pit stop. He's going to lose.
And he's right at the back of the train now as well. It's perfect for Jacko. It's got him past 2 of his rivals in this race already. He's a net P2. Cena's still P3 despite the holding up in the pits. So it hasn't worked out too badly for the AlphaTauri. Chris Johnson's done well there. He's up to a net P4 with Blair Grylls 5th. Wheelnuts down to 6th. Dom net P7. Baz at 8th. Neljo at 9th. Mr. John ran out of the top 10 just about holding off Red Bull Kim. 2 people yet to pit, staying out because they're on mediums. Saya Sports and Indecisive. So they'll be hoping for a second safety car later on just to get a bit of a gap to the leaders and then switch to the soft tyres.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If there's not another safety car, then it's not really going to work out. The safety car coming out at a very bad time. Because it's just a tiny bit too much for the softs to be useful at the end. If it was another, I'd say maybe 2 laps, yeah, then absolutely go for it. But yeah, that's a real shame for these two out in front. But I mean, if there is a safety car towards the end of the race, they could look pretty handy. But Parsa then retains the net lead of the race. He's going to have to make his way past these two. And it's easier to pass the likes of Kaya when they stay out, but be a little bit more difficult to pass these two, one would imagine. But Jacko then, fantastic for him. He's up into a net P2. Cena, as you said there, now it did, maybe he was a bit cautious coming into the pit lane. Maybe Wheelnut was going in too quickly, and maybe he would have got a penalty for speeding anyway. But I only really caught the tail end of it, so it's hard to tell. I would say Cena was the one being cautious, if anything, to make sure he doesn't get a penalty.
Yeah, the thing is, normally if you're trying to get close to the limit for pitting, like normally you want to get in the pits as quick as possible. You try and get as close to the limit as possible without breaking it. And if a car hits you right as you're doing that, normally you'd just jump a bit back over that limit and get the penalty. That's a curious one. Mackey's got a 5-second penalty for ignoring a yellow flag on the safety car.
I did notice the positions change between Parsa and Mackie, so I don't know what's happened there. But maybe he was told to let Parsa back through and opted not to. But he's going to have to serve that though, because we can debate certain penalties post-race and get them removed, but we can't remove something like this because he's going to have to serve that when he makes his pit stop.
Yes, that's unfortunate for the Alpine driver. I wonder if he backed off too much and the AlphaTauri thought, oh, that means I could go, and then kind of went and realised he couldn't let the car back through, but now the penalty hits. So that could be an interesting one to look into. Yeah, not really sure about that, but as we were saying, it is possible Cena backed off a little bit, because you see where he is in the training, he's not lost a lot of ground, and I think the rule is you can't back the field up on the way to the pits, because I think there was a particular race in real life, I think it was Spa one year, where McLarens were 1 and 2, and the safety car came out, and one really backed the field up so that the lead McLaren could pit, get the fuel change, because there was no tyre rule. This is 2005, so no tyre changing. So the lead McLaren filled the car up, then got going, and let the second McLaren go straight in the box without any hold up. I think the rule was brought in since, and I'm just wondering if there was a possibility Cena's kind of tried to bend that rule a little bit just to get a free pit box, backed it off too much, and that led to Daniel Peeble not going into the back of him, expecting the car in front to be going up pit lane speed, and it isn't.
Well, it may be something for the stewards to deliberate. Perhaps not. I mean, who knows? Only really caught the tail end of it. A replay would be handy, of course, but we're not getting one. But the safety car comes into the pits, and it's Sayre Sports who leads them away with indecisive Mackie then. Well, he's a good bit behind Sayre Sports then, so Joe gets the jump very nicely, but Chris Johnson's all over the back of Cena. Will he jump down the inside of the AlphaTauri driver into turn 1? Jacko going very defensive from the AlphaTauri driver. He knows Cena will not be scared to make an overtake if he can sense the opportunity, and Cena already using quite a fair bit of deployment. In fact, it's pretty much used the same as Jacko there. So Jacko clearly feeling the need to go defensive as Parsa tries to get by the Alpine that's just ahead of him, who has not pitted. And let's see what he can do then into turn 8.
Oh, Jacko's just going for a move there.
Oh, and Cena, I think he just needs to judge the momentum better. Obviously, he was never going to get out of the corner very well ahead of him. So, Cena then just calm.
I'm just wondering that I don't think that might not have been an intended move by Jacko. I think he lost it on the curb, on the corner exit. And sometimes you start to slide, you correct it, but then you're sailing into the next corner. You've missed the braking zone already, correcting the car, and I'm wondering if that might have been a possibility. But he's going for it now, so maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, Jacko then, he probably cost himself a bit of momentum coming out of that corner, but I don't think he's going to be under a huge threat up ahead. But Parsa then must be getting pretty frustrated. Indecisive Mackie causing quite the train here. Is Mackie trying to go into the pits? No, he's not. There was, I thought there was just about enough space there, but maybe not there. I don't know what Mackie is up to down this straight.
Well, I think I know what's going on.
Have a big lead.
Oh, he's got them both, but he's gone wide.
Jacko goes very wide there. I'm not entirely sure.
Mackie was on the... Oh, contact between the two.
This is
that's got a bit messy.
Quite bizarre here. Not entirely sure what is going on, but...
the car's a free wide hit. What is going on here?
This is getting pretty messy as Parsa then spins as Mackie continues to hold up the field here, with Cena then up into a net P3. Parsa has retired from the session, and we have a second
and it's another
safety car.
And look how far ahead Joe's got in all of that. And now Chris Johnson's still going as if it's green. He's got to give the place back to Cena, surely. And now Mackie's gone wide, and now and now he's realised, and now he's given the place back. Okay. Kick it off here.
Yeah, I don't know if it was. I was like, is Chris Johnson's game in sync with everyone else? But
He is lagging. I will give Chris Johnson that. There is lag. He's got the
Yeah.
low connection bar on my screen. So that could be a bit of a miscommunication with the game there, and he's now got into the correct position. I'm not sure what's going on with Mackie. They're very, very defensive. Jacko's just sailed it down the inside, but look how far off Jacko is now to Joe. So, I mean, it's not enough of a gap for Joe to get to the front anyway, but he is going to be in the train.
Oh, did you see that as well?
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was very weird.
Okay, we'll gloss over that. Joe
we'll just edit that out. Joe in the pits then from the lead onto softs. He's going to be at the back, but he will be on the fresh set of brand new soft tyres. He'll be making his way back through the field. He's still going to be in the points anyways, P13, because you've got 3 cars that have pitted behind Mackie, Marco, Mr. John, who's been held up in the pit, and John Menzies, who, you know, he was right up there fighting for the podium. He's now P17, so I'm not sure what's happened. Well, he got into contact with Jacko. That's dropped into the back, and then I think he's pitted.
Well, he might as well pit now.
I think he's pitted on the restart, or the lap after the restart, and then the safety cars come out, and now he's coming again. So this is his 3rd pit stop.
Yeah. It seems like it, but he's got nothing to lose though. He can go on to the soft tyres. He knows he's going to be quicker than most of the drivers out there, certainly going by qualifying pace and what we saw in the early part of this race. But Wheelnut has a penalty. That was due to the collision? That was
the collision, yes. Okay, so let's just have a breakdown of the order at the moment with this safety car out. We've got Jacko in the lead from Cena, Chris Johnson 3rd for Aston Martin, Daniel P. Wheelnut championship leader 4th, but with a time penalty. That could be debated after the race. Blair Grills is P5 for McLaren. Dom Smith, a quiet P6, but, you know, keeping out of trouble this time, unlike Abu Dhabi. 7th for Bazza, Neil Jack in 8th. Angel vs Death, Michael Kenny P9. That's a very solid result if he keeps that. M. Shepard's recovered to 10th after the spin at the start. Stereogram P11. Red Bull came in 12th. And then we've got the cars that have pitted again under safety car. We've got Saya Sports. Well, Saya Sports and Safi Mackie had to pit anyway. They're both on softs in 13th and 14th. 15th for Marco. Mr. John down in 16th position. And John Menzies rounding off the field in 17th. Made his way to the back of the pack, having made a 3rd pit stop this race.
Safety car will go around again. Probably just waiting for John Menzies to get to the back of the field. But they've started lap 10 then, so we'll presumably get 4 laps of racing at the end. It'll be interesting to see how far Sarah Sports can move up the field as Mick Schumacher opts to pit yet again.
That's pit stop 4.
He was on softs and he decides to go onto softs.
What?
Okay. Anyway,
That's just weird. I'm sorry, that is just bizarre. I don't understand the reasoning for that, because your tyres are getting to the end of the race because you just pitted. So why have you pitted the following lap to put the same set of tyres on and lose the position in the process? The tyres are going to last from lap 9 to 14 when 2 of the laps are under safety car. Why are you pitting again from 16th to 17th to save 1% of tyre wear? That is just nonsensical, and I don't understand it whatsoever.
Well, you tell him, Johners. Yeah, I don't get it either. It's somewhat bizarre, but well, maybe he just wanted to save that percentage of tyre wear. But I mean, sure, look, he didn't have a whole lot to lose, but I suppose he's just gone and lost it behind the safety car, hasn't he? But anyway. We should be underway at the end of this lap, and it's somehow it's Jacko who's in the lead here. After some interesting driving that happened in between the 2 safety cars, I think that may need to be looked at later.
Yeah.
Didn't quite look like stuff we like to see.
It's worth pointing out Jacko being in the lead there was due to him just sending it down the inside of the 2 cars in front of him. So Jacko's got there fairly, although, you know, Menzies might not be happy with him for an earlier incident. Cena you know, I don't think Wilnut's going to be happy with him. Chris Johnson's just quietly got up there into third from 10th without really, you know, getting in too much drama. He's just kept it out of trouble. Wilnut's P4 still. Claire Grills is 5th. Then you've got Don Bazza and Jack. We're about to get underway again. We've got 4 laps remaining. Jacko's backing them up.
Jacko's backing them up.
And now he goes.
Yeah, very late there, but I think Cena may have a little bit of a run here down into turn 1. He's got the slipstream. I think he may be just a little bit too far back, and we've got the Mercedes of Daniel P. Wheelnut, and I think we had an incident at the back here. Baz has gone into the pits for some reason.
Yeah, I could tell you what's happened there. Baz has hit the back of Dom on the restart because his teammate up the front has decided to back it off on the straight.
Yeah, that's a curious one there. Cena, he thought about going around the outside, doesn't quite have the grip. Jacko taking the racing line there, and sure he's not going to go up the inside there, so no real point using the overtake into that corner. But Cena then, he did look like he had a great deal of pace. But then again, Jacko was at the front too, but Wheelnut has passed Chris Johnson, and he is now up into P3. He's onto the podium places, but he does have that 5-second penalty for a collision with the driver we're currently on board with, Cena in the AlphaTauri, and these two drivers using pretty much the same amount of deployment as each other. I think Cena's just looking to keep the DRS here. I think DRS is the main tactical reason for using so much deployment so early on, as Sarah Sports moved himself up into P11. I think Angel vs Death has gone for an excursion off the circuit at turn 11, but Cena then, he looks quicker than Jacko out in front.
Mackey's already up to 9th on those soft tyres as well, so he's the lead car that's pitted for the softs. Obviously we're going to get 2 laps of DRS, lap 13 and 14, because you have to have 2 completed laps after a restart. This is the end of the first one. Cena's got to run. He's using ERS as well. Jacko is not. He's not really defended in this one, you know.
So Cena then down the inside. Maybe Cena's not too keen on getting that race lead. Maybe he braked too early. Maybe he's being cautious. But he's got the run now, and he's got the inside line once again. I think Jacko's letting him have the DRS.
But you've got the Mercedes having a look as well, because Wilnut's right with him. Cena's going running outside. He's gone very wide there. Jacko will hold on to the lead. Cena's lucky to take P2, keep P2 there with how wide he'd gone. But these three, if they're trying to go for the whole after you process they're going for at the moment, they're just going to let everyone else in, because look, Chris Johnson's called back up now. Their grills is pretty much there. Dom's not too far off, and he's taken M-Shep with him, who's recovered very well from the start he had.
Yeah, I messed my wording up slightly earlier on. I think Jacko wants the DRS for himself, because otherwise Cena will have it. In terms of deployment, Cena a few percentage worse. I don't know why he just used a little bit through there. He's going to stay within a second under normal circumstances, so just needs to manage that deployment just a little bit better than he's currently doing. He's the same as Wheelnut behind here, but yeah, now Cena not using any deployment coming down here because he knows he actually, no, he won't have DRS because the detection point is here. He will have it in the run to turn 4 though. But,
yeah, he had it on the run for turn 4, but look at the he's got the exit.
Yeah,
if he's behind,
Cena,
but they're
Cena
both using DRS.
They're both using it, so they're both depleting that battery, and Cena's already dipped below 20%, and Cena then, I think Jacko's let him through there. I think Jacko wants the DRS.
But he's got the DRS. Cena's got the DRS.
Oh yeah, because the detection point is just before that corner, so Cena then has the DRS. There's the rear wing open, and Jacko somehow, after all of that, loses 2 positions. Wheelnut goes around the outside, and he's got the better traction. So Cena then has a fairly comfortable margin here. If Wheelnut's penalty doesn't get removed here, he could effectively have, well, it could just be Jacko who's in P2, but with a car in between getting in the way.
Some very odd strategy decision making there. It didn't really work out at all for Jacko, did it?
No, but Cena then, yeah, he's wise here to not use his deployment. He loves using as much of the track as he's possibly allowed, does Cena. He loves kind of being 80% off the straight.
Has made contact with Chris Johnson. He's tried to get the inside. They've just met in the middle. The McLaren's round, and he's out of the top 10 now. That puts Dom Smith up to P5. Chris Johnson not really able to keep up the 3 leaders who are coming towards the final lap now. But of course, he's going to be seeing a 5-second penalty for Wheelnut, so he's probably not pushing, thinking, I've got a podium here.
Well, Wheelnut, he's got some deployment. Cena pretty much completely out of it. Wheelnut opting not to use it so far. You can see the flashing light on the AlphaTauri up ahead of him. He's
Oh, he's got
braked
into the back
way
of him.
too late there. Has he picked up damage from that? You'd imagine maybe not, because they were kind of square on with each other. But Cena then, with no deployment on the exit there, Cena just slots in behind Jacko. Will he go for a move on the inside? He definitely thought about it there, but in the end decided not to do it, so he will hold on for a podium place right now. But it is Wheelnut. Now you could argue maybe Wheelnut compromised Cena's exit then by hitting him into turn one. So I think Wheelnut, I don't think he's picked up any damage here, even though Cena does look like the quicker driver right now. But I think these drivers, when they get a bit of slipstream on the car in front, you know, they're kind of as quick as each other here, and it's a fantastic battle that we are witnessing. Cena has DRS. This zone nowhere near as effective then. But Wheelnut then, he's only really got to defend into one more corner, just into that penultimate corner, and Cena pointlessly using his deployment through these corners, I've got to say. But will he get the better exit compared to the Mercedes through here? He won't have any real deployment advantage though, or well, he won't have any. But will Wheelnut retain the lead heading into the final two corners of the final lap? I think he will, you know, he will indeed. So then, out of the final corner, worth bearing in mind, he does have a penalty, so Daniel P. Wheelnut will cross the line first, but in the end, it is Cena who wins in Bahrain. 6/10 clear of Jacko, with Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson, yeah, he was just there. He just appeared and is on the podium. Dom Smith is fourth after an eventful qualifying session for the Alpine driver. M. Shep is fifth. Once again gaining places because of penalties. But Wheelnut drops to sixth. Now, will he appeal that penalty? I don't know if he has a case. Genuinely, I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm just saying that, like, I genuinely do not know, because I would want to see a better view of the incident. Because if Cena, if he was coasting in at about 14 miles an hour for several seconds, then you could argue that he probably has a case, because the car shouldn't be doing that. But I guess we'll see how that develops. Now Jack picking up driver of the day then, but I'm going to say Cena has this for now. I think that's all we can really go by. We haven't seen the incident clearly. So Cena then takes victory in Bahrain, and we were just saying in the previous race at Yas Marina that Cena doesn't really have the consistency of other drivers, but I mean tonight he's the top scorer. He was second and first. Of course, second in Yas Marina from P19 on the grid. Now he's got a decent grid position, and he wins the race. But we have a migrating host there. But yeah.
Okay. I've just watched back the footage because I was actually on board at the time, and I think there could be a case there for Wheelnut. I'll tell you that much. So,
well, I mean, even still, Cena. I mean, for Wheelnut, that's fantastic if it is the case, because him dropping to sixth. I mean, that goes from 25 to 9. Why is my maths so bad? 25. Take away 9, 16 point difference. So that's quite a big margin in the championship, and that's not the amount of points that you want to be losing. So now Jack picking up driver of the day, going from 14th to 7th. John Menzies recovered to P8 in the end. It was Sayer Sports. He could only complete the top 10 in the end after that strategy decision. It kind of backfired on him a little bit. So it was only P10 in the end. Stereogram picks up the final point of the race in the Alfa Romeo. Mick Schumacher worked his way up to 13th despite a 3-second penalty and despite the unnecessary second pit stop. Baza, I think Baza will probably be the one most disappointed. Perhaps Parsa, actually, because Parsa with the fastest lap, which we won't award any point for because he was outside of the points. And it's not like Formula 2 where it just gets reallocated to whoever had the fastest lap within the points. So Parsa then, fastest lap but no point for it. No point for the race, of course, due to some interesting driving. perhaps more so from Mackie than Parsa, but I guess we'll have to have a look into that. Not really sure what was going on there, but I suppose other than that, fantastic night of racing as we tend to get with these two fantastic circuits. And yeah, Jonas, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, two very interesting races. Quite a lot about fierce battling. Could be interesting what happens with the 5-second penalty for Will Not though. But as we see for now, seen as the race winner here in Bahrain, it's going to set the championship up very nicely because Will Nut's championship leader, Cena and Jacko, are now tied on points as it stands, with Dom in 4th. So it's going to be very interesting next week because Cena, I believe, if I've got my maths right, let's just have a quick look. So I had Cena on 83 points to Will Nut's 113. So the gap was 30 points. It's now with a what's it, 9 points for Will Nut, 16 points. So it's about, oh, I've lost count already. Sorry, I've lost my points. I've lost my head a bit. But it's a lot less. I think it's around 15, 16 points now, the gap at the top.
Well, I mean, hopefully for Cena's sake, then Wheelnut won't have that win reinstated. But well, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. Sure, we'll catch up in due course. Do check out the TGP Series Twitter account at TGP Series for all the latest updates and, of course, championship standings. We will see the race winner graphic for Bahrain. Which driver it'll be, I'm not quite sure as things stand at the moment. But anyway, next week we will be heading to, let me just double check where we're off to next week. We are off to Azerbaijan and Spain. Two very contrasting circuits. Looking forward to that. So back to Europe for next week. But yeah, hopefully you will join us then around 7:30 in the British and Irish time zone. And we will see you then. Good night.